Hello. Thanks for attending the Department of the Air Force Child Development Program's Feeding Infants and Young Children Instructional Guide. Training. The training objective is to assist child development programs, personnel, the Development Center, staff and managers, family child care providers and coordinators, contract workers and volunteers in understanding their roles and responsibilities of safely meeting nutritional needs of infants and children. This guide is information and may not be used to evaluate personnel. The purpose of this instructional guide is to provide standardized procedures and guidelines on the preparation, serving, and storage of iron-fortified infant formula, human milk, infant food, and age-appropriate solid food served to infants and young children. Overview. Good nutrition is essential to the growth and development occurring during an infant and young child's first few years of life. CDP personnel who work with infants and young children must be sensitive and respond to individual feeding cues. Feeding time should be an opportunity to strengthen adult-child relationships. It is important for adults to respond quickly to meet infants and young children's needs, which helps promote security and trust. Relationships are the foundation of quality care. All children, but especially infants and young children, need the opportunity to form the kind of comfortable, secure relationships with CYP personnel that will nurture their healthy emotional development. Infants and young children should always be in the care of at least one adult who knows the individual differences in the feeding patterns and routines of each child and young infant. Each program should develop a written internal system to ensure that infants are receiving the appropriate bottle. The following processes must be incorporated into the local policy. CYP personnel must check and double-check before offering bottles to infants and young children. A name-to-face check must be completed before feeding begins. First, check the name and the date on the bottles. Never use an unlabeled bottle that might have been mistakenly accepted or a bottle that has expired. Next, pause before placing the infant's bottle in the infant or young child's mouth. Does the name of the bottle match the face of the infant or young child? This is extremely important. Doing a name-to-face check each and every time before bottle feeding can prevent potential mix-ups. When two CYP personnel are in the same room, bottles should be verified with each other to ensure that the infant and young child is receiving the correct bottle. For example, this is Johnny Smith. The name on the bottle is Johnny Smith. I am going to feed him his bottle. General information. A system is in place to check for and dispose of expired IFIF, human milk, and infant food items. Infants who are less than 8 months of age and who are unable to independently sit are held for bottle and spoon feedings. Both criteria need to be met. For example, if an infant is 9 months of age but is unable to sit independently, they must be held for the feeding. Likewise, if an infant is 7 months and can sit independently, they also must be held for the feeding. Other feeding methods are permitted if prescribed in writing by the child's healthcare provider and approved by the installation medical advisor. Bottles will be handheld while feeding, never propped. Infants and young children do not have bottles, sippy cups, or cups in cribs, porta-cribs, bassinets, play yards, or on sleeping mats. Infants and young children are not allowed to carry bottles, sippy cups, or cups with them while crawling, walking, or playing in the activity room or home. Pyrex glass bottles or plastic bottles are used. Plastic bottles must be free of bisphenol A, BPA. Plastic bottles labeled BPA free or with the numbers 1, 2, 4, or 5 are acceptable. IFIF and human milk must be refrigerated immediately, a temperature of 40 degrees or below, until ready to use. Microwave ovens, bottle warmers, crock pots, heated pans of water are not used for warming infant formula or human milk. Air Force Services VCY has mandated that baby breezes will be utilized for preparing IFIF and warming water for human milk and pre-made IFIF bottles. The machine dispenses the water at the correct temperature needed, which does not exceed 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Excessive heating may destroy beneficial nutritional components. Important instructions for using the baby breezes. Each infant room will have 2 units, one for regular and one for soy formulas. Each unit must be carefully labeled, i.e. regular formula and soy formula. Record the date when formula is added to the unit. As directed on the formula container, the formula must be used within 1 month of opening. Room staff will have to work together, possibly sharing contents of a can, if applicable, in order to use contents before the cutoff date to minimize waste. Do not fill the unit to the top with formula if only a few infants are using one particular type of formula. It is essential to select the correct setting for the formula brand and type. Clean the funnel after every 4 bottles made. Units must be cleaned and descaled no less than once a month or earlier if needed. Follow the instructions of assembling, operating, and cleaning the machine is essential. Please ensure that you read and understand machine instructions prior to operating. Infant cereal, fruit juice, or any other foods, to include prescription and non-prescription medications, are not added to bottles with IFIF or human milk unless prescribed in writing by the infant and child's healthcare provider and approved by the installation medical advisor. CDP personnel wash their hands before handling and serving IFIF, human milk, or age-appropriate solid foods. Infants and young child's hands are also washed before serving their bottles and age-appropriate solid foods. Parents are provided daily information on the amount and type of food their child consumes. Iron-fortified infant formula. The CDP will provide 2 different types of powdered IFIF, one regular and one soy. If the parent chooses to provide the formula, the parents will bring pre-made bottles of iron-fortified infant formula or provide IFIF in a factory-sealed container to be prepared by CDP personnel. CDP personnel will thoroughly wash their hands prior to preparing the IFIF. CDP personnel will wash the container and the top of the IFIF container with soap and water and rinse well to remove any contaminants. Water used for mixing IFIF must be from a safe water source as defined by the local or state health department. Iron-fortified infant formula is prepared following the manufacturer's directions on the container. Only the scoop that comes with the formula container will be used. Note: use open can continents within 1 month as indicated on the container. Each bottle of iron-fortified infant formula should be labeled with the formula name, the infant and young child's first and last name, and the date and time that the iron-fortified infant formula was prepared. Check the name on the bottle and the baby before feeding the bottle to the infant. After preparing bottles of IFIF, this should be mixed gently. Excessive shaking may cause foaming that can increase the likelihood of infant ingesting air. Follow the directions for the manufacturer for storing and discarding of IFIF. Human milk. CDP personnel should encourage, provide comfortable arrangements for, and support breastfeeding. A designated area for breastfeeding parents with infants and young children in the program must be provided. Expressed human milk will be placed in a clean, sanitary bottle with a nipple that fits tightly and has not been altered. Have parents bring human milk in a ready-to-feed bottle labeled with the infant and young child's first and last name, the date and time that the human milk was expressed or thawed. If the parents bring frozen milk to remain frozen until needed, once staff thaw the human milk, they will add the thaw date and time. Frozen milk can be stored in a freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Frozen human milk should be defrosted in the refrigerator. Once it's thawed, the human milk cannot be refrozen. Thawed human milk stored in the refrigerator may not be used after 24 hours. Leftover milk from a feeding is not used after 2 hours. After warming, bottles of human milk should be mixed gently and not shaken. Excessive shaking of the human milk may damage some of the cellular components that are valuable in the infant and to the needs of the infant and young children. Freshly pumped human milk must be discarded after 4 hours of the human milk if the human milk has been sitting on a counter. If the milk is in the refrigerator, it must be discarded after 4 days. Freshly pumped human milk that is frozen is best if used within 6 months. Please do not use it after 12 months. Infants and young children who are developmentally ready to drink from a cup can be offered human milk in a no-spill sippy cup. Additional measures for such close supervision of infant and young children, such as infant and young children sitting next to an adult, safe storage, and serving must also be in place to prevent other infants and young children from being exposed to human milk. The cup will be labeled with the infant and young child's first and last name and the date and time the human milk was expressed. Based on the recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics, if human milk is being purchased for use in CDP, it must be purchased from a milk bank, which screens, pasteurizes, and ensures shipping is conducted in a safe manner. Feeding human milk to another mother's infant and young child. CDP personnel who inadvertently feed human milk to another mother's infant and young child must treat the incident as an exposure to bodily fluids due to the possible exposure of hepatitis B, hepatitis C, or human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. CDP personnel will immediately contact the program supervisor, who will in turn notify the parents, encouraging them to contact the infant and young child's primary healthcare provider for further guidance. In addition, the Installation Public Health Office and the CYP Medical Advisor will be contacted. All incidents will be reported to on the Air Force Form 3424, Child and Youth Programs Reportable Incidents Report, within 24 hours of the event to the Flight Chief, Squadron Commander and Director, Air Force Personnel Center Directorate of Services Child and Youth Programs, and the United States Air Force Child and Youth Programs. A review of the incident must be conducted and strategies developed to further prevent future incidents. Introduction of age-appropriate solid foods. Age-appropriate solid foods may be introduced no sooner than when the infant has reached the age of 4 months, but preferably not prior to 6 months of age, as indicated by the individual infant's nutritional and developmental needs. Parents must introduce infant foods at home first, prior to an infant being fed at the CDP, in case of an allergic reaction. Jars of infant food will be washed with soap and warm water before opening to remove any contaminants. CDP personnel will spoon food out into a dish, checking carefully for foreign objects. Open jars of infant baby food are labeled with the date and time opened, refrigerated, and used within 24 hours. Dry infant cereal must be used within 30 days of opening. Programs may not make their own baby food. Solid foods are served in pieces no larger than a ½ inch thick, and in short, thin slices or strips for infants and toddlers/twos. Any uneaten food in the dishes must be discarded. Cow's milk is not offered to infants less than 1 year of age unless directed by the infant's healthcare provider and approved by the Installation Medical Advisor. Do not feed honey products or baked goods with honey to children younger than 1 year of age. Foods associated with infants and young children's choking incidents are not served to children less than 4 years of age. Examples of these foods are hot dogs, drumettes, meat on the bone, and other meat sticks, whole or sliced into rounds. Raw carrots, whole grapes, hard candy, nuts, seeds, raw peas, hard large pretzels, peanuts, chips, popcorn, rice cakes, marshmallows, peanut butter, and chunks of meat larger than what can be swallowed whole. Thank you for attending this training. If you have any questions, please see your training and curriculum specialist or your center director.